For years, Kerry King has been known as one of the most intense and recognizable figures in heavy metal, rising to fame as the powerful guitarist and co-founder of Slayer. But recent discussions about his career have led to headlines claiming devastating news that shocked fans, even though the reality behind those stories is more emotional than tragic. When Slayer officially ended its long farewell tour in 2019, it marked the closing chapter of one of the most influential metal bands in history, and for millions of loyal listeners it felt like the end of an era, because for nearly 4 decades Slayer had defined the sound and attitude of thrash metal with aggressive music, dark imagery, and unforgettable live performances. Kerry King had been at the center of that legacy since the early 1980s, writing riffs, touring the world, and helping shape albums that became classics among metal fans. So when the band decided to stop touring, many people assumed something terrible must have happened behind the scenes. However, the truth was far simpler, though still emotional for those who loved the band, because the members felt it was the right time to bring the journey to a respectful close after so many years on the road. Long tours can be exhausting, especially for musicians who have spent decades traveling constantly, and the decision reflected a desire to step away while the band was still strong rather than continuing until the passion faded. In interviews, Kerry King admitted that the end of Slayer was difficult for him personally because performing with the band had been his life for so long, and suddenly that routine disappeared, leaving a quiet space where once there had been roaring crowds and thunderous guitars. Fans who grew up listening to Slayer felt the same sense of loss, which is why headlines describing the moment as devastating resonated emotionally even if they exaggerated the situation. Instead of retiring completely, King began focusing on new creative projects, writing music, and eventually forming a new band to continue performing the heavy style he loves, proving that while Slayer may have ended its chapter, his passion for music did not disappear. The situation also reminded fans how strongly they connect with bands that shape their lives, because when a legendary group stops performing it can feel almost like losing a piece of personal history. For Kerry King, the challenge was moving forward while honoring the legacy he helped create, and he has spoken about how proud he remains of the music Slayer produced and the impact it had on generations of metal artists. Rather than being a sudden tragedy, the real story is about transition, reflection, and the natural evolution of a musician's career after decades at the top of the genre. Even though the farewell of Slayer was emotional, it also allowed fans to celebrate the band's influence and remember the energy that defined their concerts and recordings. Today, Kerry King continues to be respected as one of metal's most iconic guitarists, recognized for his aggressive playing style, unmistakable stage presence, and dedication to the genre that made him famous. The devastating news that shocked fans was not a hidden scandal or personal disaster, but the realization that one of heavy metal's greatest bands had reached the end of its journey, reminding listeners that even the loudest and most powerful music eventually faces the quiet moment when a legendary chapter closes.